On the topic of longevity, every time someone mentions living a long life, I can't help but think of my grandmother and grandfather. My grandmother was still full of energy at the age of 98. She could walk, cook, even tend her little herb garden. It wasn't until she had a bad fall at 99 that she passed away peacefully. My grandfather made it to 96, sharp as ever. His eyes were still bright, his hearing surprisingly good, and he could still plant tomatoes and take care of his chickens right up until his final year. They were both simple folk, Midwestern farmers who never studied any fancy secrets to longevity. They didn't take supplements or go to yoga retreats or drink herbal tonics flown in from overseas. But by just observing how they lived, how they moved through each day, I came to see that longevity isn't as complicated as modern books or lifestyle coaches make it out to be. In fact, it's surprisingly simple. Here are a few things I learned from watching Grandma Edith and Grandpa Joe live their quiet, full lives. These habits might not be trendy, but they sure worked. And as I talk to other elders living into their 90s or even past 100, I notice a pattern. They all seem to share these 5 lifestyle traits. 1. A peaceful mindset. Don't sweat the small stuff. My grandmother was what you might call lighthearted, maybe even a little carefree. Some would jokingly say she had no filter, no worries. No matter what life threw her way, she handled it with a chuckle and a shrug. I remember how the neighbors would wring their hands over their children's marriages or career troubles. But Grandma Edith? She never lost sleep over any of that. The kids will figure it out, she'd say. They've got their own paths to walk. She really believed in letting go. Grandpa Joe was much the same. I remember once when the neighbor's dog got into his vegetable patch and ruined an entire row of squash. Did he yell? Did he stomp over to the neighbor's door? Nope. He just smiled and said, "Guess I'll plant another batch tomorrow." Another time, half his chickens got sick during a bad season of bird flu. Instead of stressing, he calmly cleaned out the coop and started again. He believed that as long as you eat well and sleep well, most things will sort themselves out. Honestly, I think a calm heart is one of the biggest keys to longevity. Some people spend their days meddling in other people's problems, worrying about things they can't control. But not Grandma and Grandpa. They focused on their own happiness, and it showed. 2. Simple meals and regular eating schedules. Their meals were nothing fancy, but they were consistent and wholesome. Grandma Edith stuck to the same kind of food year-round. A little pork or chicken, white rice porridge, corn on the cob, steamed squash, sweet potatoes, dried turnip pickles. Nothing exotic. Nothing processed. And certainly no snake meat or strange game meats. She wouldn't touch anything unfamiliar. She got up at 7 a.m. every morning, cooked her own breakfast, and never skipped a meal. You skip breakfast, your stomach starts grumbling all day, she'd say. Grandpa Joe had a small glass of homemade moonshine every evening. Never store-bought liquor, only what he brewed himself. The family tried to get him to quit drinking when he got older, but he just wasn't as cheerful without his little evening sip. So eventually we let it be. He didn't eat a lot, just 1 bowl per meal. And he always stopped eating when he was about 80% full. After dinner, he'd take a walk around the property instead of slumping into a chair. People today chase exotic superfoods and expensive supplements. But my grandparents lived long, healthy lives with basic food and moderation. They didn't diet, they just lived simply. 3. Staying active, never sitting still for too long. Neither of them liked to sit idle. Grandma loved going into town for the weekly market. Even in her 90s, she'd walk an hour or more to the farmer's market with a little basket on her arm. Sometimes she'd bring wild greens to sell, or hand-woven baskets she made herself. She didn't like being chauffeured. Walking keeps the legs strong, she'd say. And she was right. She always had good posture and rarely complained about aches. Grandpa Joe, at 80, was still out back tending to his vegetable patch. He watered his kale and pulled weeds like they were his children. We never had to buy vegetables. We had carrots, scallions, cilantro, spinach, even sugar snap peas, all from his garden. He also kept a coop out back and raised about a dozen hens. Every morning, rain or shine, he'd go out to feed them and let them roam, then bring them back in before sunset. He couldn't stand sitting around. If you asked him to just relax, he'd chuckle and go find something to do. Use it or lose it, he used to say. And that stuck with me. The more you move, the more energy you seem to have. Staying idle too long makes people anxious and sluggish. Grandpa and Grandma proved that to me over and over again. For loving children and family harmony, Grandma had 7 kids. In her later years, she moved in with her eldest daughter. But all the children stayed close. Holidays were never lonely. Those who couldn't visit always sent her money, letters, or small gifts. Grandpa Joe had 6 children, and they rotated helping him out. But he insisted on staying in his old farmhouse. Every week, someone dropped by with groceries or household supplies, and they'd sit down and catch up for a bit. Grandma always said, "We live for peace of mind, nothing else." And now that she's gone, those words ring even louder. They say genetics might play a part, and I think there's something to that too. My grandmother's mother lived to 101, and my grandfather's brother made it to 98. But still, I believe habits and mindset matter more. Neither of them ever had major health issues. A few minor ones here and there, sure, but a shot, a pill, and they were fine. No diabetes, no high blood pressure. Grandma had a touch of farsightedness, and Grandpa's hearing got a little fuzzy in his last few years, but nothing major. They both passed away peacefully in their sleep. No pain, no hospital drama. Everyone in town said it was a happy funeral, a natural goodbye. So yes, I believe lifestyle matters a lot. A peaceful mind, simple meals, moving your body, staying connected to loved ones. These are the real secrets to a long and happy life. When I was younger, the elders always reminded us to cultivate good habits. Sit up straight, don't talk with your mouth full, finish your food, don't speak in bed, and so on. All useful, of course. But the older I get, the more I see that not all good habits are worth clinging to forever. Especially in old age, sometimes letting go of a few things, being a bit bad, can actually be wise. Here are 5 bad habits that might actually be good for seniors. 1, not worrying too much. A lot of older folks, especially parents, spend a lifetime worrying about their children, school, work, marriage, everything. But once the kids are grown, it's okay to stop. My neighbor, Mrs. Young, has kids who are all married with careers. She doesn't get involved in their lives. When they argue or vent to her, she just listens. Doesn't take sides, doesn't nag. She focuses on her garden and chats with her friends over tea. At 81, she's more energetic than most people in their 60s. 2, out of sight, out of mind. Some older folks feel the need to clean constantly. A little dust and suddenly it's mop time. But not Grandpa Jack. He says, "How dirty can one house get?" He does a deep clean once a week. The rest of the time, he goes for walks, does a bit of stretching, and takes it easy. His back doesn't hurt like it used to, and he seems far more relaxed than others who scrub all day. 3, lying in bed a little longer in the morning. Many elders think they need to pop out of bed right away and make their bed military tight. But actually, giving your body a few extra minutes to adjust is better. Blood pressure and blood sugar are low right after waking, and rushing can make you dizzy. Plus, making the bed immediately traps moisture and dust. Letting the bed air out with a breeze is healthier. 4, playing games. Yes, really. We often scold kids for playing video games, but for seniors, it can be mentally stimulating. My Uncle Ted, a retired Army vet, never liked games. Then one day his grandson showed him a battle simulation game. Now he plays regularly, it keeps his reflexes sharp, and they bond over it too. So maybe being a little carefree, lazy, or childish in old age isn't so bad. In fact, it might be the very thing that keeps you going strong into your 90s. What about you? How many of these habits do you already have?